guys, welcome to Ikebukuro West Gate Park. This is part 2 of our G-Boys Winter War. I am getting so much better of saying Ikebukuro. I edit my videos so you guys don't get to see how many takes I sometimes do when it comes to saying Ikebukuro. I feel proud. If anything, this series has helped me get some of my words kind of correct and more pronunciated. Hopefully you guys can also appreciate my dedication, as dedication does tend to be a theme running through this week's episode. This week's tie-up was so good. There was a few bits I was absolutely screaming my head off at because I was so happy. My horrific guesses last week were completely wrong. So I didn't obviously think that there could be another group of people we hadn't even considered. It was a guy who we didn't even know. I was completely wrong last week, but oh my god, I had so much fun last week. And again, I had so much fun this week. I really enjoyed this little arc when it comes to the G-Boy War. I really enjoyed it. And the fact that it's part 2 as well. You see, if you follow my Moriarty videos, you know how much I praise having a double episode, essentially. Absolutely love it, because it means they can put a bit more into the story itself. We open with a phone call that essentially never happened, because it didn't happen. And we get a guy called Big Ray, who, off record, tells Makoto Shadow isn't on record. He's just essentially rumours. But he is just one person. Following the theme of last week, Makoto can't reach King whatsoever. I was going to say it's very sus. Tends to be that I think King just enjoys winding Makoto up. As of last week, Makoto is again on set filming. He's apparently getting better at acting. However, the ongoing theme throughout this episode is apparently Makoto is awful at acting. There's also something that gets mentioned this episode which I want to draw on a little bit because I find it quite interesting, and we do get to see a different side to our hero of justice this week. It's a side that I do hope we get to learn a bit more about, because I do think Makoto is an interesting character. We've literally got an iceberg and we've literally just seen the top of the iceberg with this guy, and there's a lot going on underneath, and I think it's going to be quite dark, and I really want us to get into that. Makoto again unable to reach King. That is our ongoing theme for this little bit, where Makoto telling Crow that he needs to tell Knight that Shadow isn't attacking his teams because Shadow works alone. But I did say somebody else technically still is, so as much as even telling him that it's not Shadow doesn't really help the fact that somebody still is attacking these guys anyway. And he essentially wants to tell Knight not to do anything rash until they know who it is. That does tend to kind of fall on deaf ears. We get another call from our boy Saru, the guy who holds grudges for a lifetime apparently, who finds out that the people who hired Shadow, I'm going to say the Mars Enterprise because I feel like you know guys, I've just managed to kind of tackle the word Ikebukuro. Off record, here we go. It is the Northern Kanto Harukan Sogyu. That's the best you're going to get, and you can laugh. Apologise to anybody who is in Japan, and I'm sorry for massacring your gorgeous language. I'm sorry. These guys, the Mars Enterprise, apparently got into a recent dispute with Donglong, and we keep hearing Donglong again and again, so it's nice to see that these names keep reoccurring, where they were apparently headhunting each other's women. We also know that last week, Donglong was also attacked. It was also the one which didn't fit. So out of all of the attacks last week, the attack on Donglong didn't fit in my eyes. It was the one oddity, and there is a good reason for that, and we find out a little later on, straight from the horse's mouth, essentially. This now conflicts with the information, but he also apparently informed King, where we know that King now is answering Saru, but not Makoto. So he's not dead or anything, he's not off the grid or anything, he's just generally not answering Makoto. Makoto now is starting to get the gist of everything. Mars Enterprise wants to expand into Ikebukuro. He believes that the motives behind everything is simply just to destroy the balance of everything. It's all about balance. We hear this word a lot. We heard it last week as well. And my boy! Somebody pulls a knife on Makoto, and I'm just going, no, my boy! You guys know that Makoto literally is my boy, and I love him, and he's my favourite character. Absolutely adore him, even though he's got this darker side going on. And it is the Bunny Man. I'm going to call him the Bunny Man, even though, I don't know, we know his name is technically Yamato. This guy heard the entire conversation. He says, I am somebody who holds a grudge against you G-Boys. And the true goal is to seize G-Boys' power. So they're essentially attacking the G-Boys to make sure they have no power left. But Makoto then makes the big mistake of trying to defend the G-Boys, where his neck starts to bleed where the guy pushes the knife in a bit, and he chokes out Makoto in front of the camera. Last week you heard me hammering on about how I believe the camera, the film storyline was important to the plot and it would come back up. It did. That camera caught everything, which is weird because I don't know, did the bunny man not notice the camera standing there? Because it was kind of obvious because it was standing straight in front of him. Makoto wakes up by the crew, so he didn't die or anything. Everyone just thinks he's asleep, where he kind of just goes, I was attacked by the rabbit. This starts to give, obviously, our film entrepreneur some ideas, and he does end up rewriting his entire idea for a film. By this point, I was 100% definitely not King. It can't be King, because King wouldn't attack Makoto. Makoto checking back the footage, he starts to replay the words over and over again. And yeah, the camera didn't get tampered with. The guy basically left this kind of camera standing. So Yamato must have thought that he was safe because he was wearing a mask, where Makoto recognizes the voice. He quickly calls Knight, telling him, who's behind all of the attacks, but Knight just doesn't care. He literally says he's going to get even with both of them, and we hear behind him that he's got his boys ready to go to war, and he even says Knight and King are fated to fight from the start. Crow is sent to go and buy some time, and when he wants to, he does actually pick up. King finally picks up on demand, almost as if he knows that Makoto's got something to tell him, where we get a nice little meeting with King and Makoto in front of Mars. They're sitting in a cafe looking down, and we can see the security looks pretty tight. King is like, your story is probably correct, but it just doesn't add up. Because if everything is okay with Mars and they're fine, why are they so on edge? Something doesn't fit. There's some information missing, where King really does seem to throw everything this week. King seems to be the one who's a little bit off bat. He says you've got one piece of information missing from the explanation, which is the Red Angels. So King believes the Red Angels are going to take advantage of the G-Boy quarrel and end up attacking. King is completely wrong. So King may be innocent, but he is obviously off with his beliefs. He kind of tries to pin it on the Red Angels, who in the end, surprising to everybody, come in and save the day. Where King says, I want to avoid a war, but sometimes you can't stop things. He then brings up the movie and says that your acting is terrible because you pretend to be a nice guy. This probably was the most WTF moment for me, because what are you playing at? You think Makoto isn't a nice guy, or he's playing at being a nice guy? Makoto is generally, sure, none of these characters are good. They're not going to fall in the good spectrum. I don't think Makoto falls into that dark spectrum either. He's technically grey zone for me. He is a great character. He's probably definitely the top of the grey section. I think he's definitely a good guy. But it's just a WTF moment what King is aiming at trying to get here. Makoto meets with Shadow. And I was absolutely screaming to the high heavens by this point. Because if you followed pretty much most of my videos or any of my videos before, you know that there is a certain voice actor in the world of the anime, the world of gaming, and the world of anything Japanese media. There's a voice actor I absolutely adore, and it became a joke because he was appearing in absolutely everything. I play otome games. I recently played an otome game, and he became my beloved. I was besotted with the guy. I love the character completely. And the actor is Kenjiro Tsuda. And I am obviously currently releasing on Golden Kamui. Kenjiro Tsuda is Ogata-san. To Your Eternity was supposed to air this season. It was pushed back, but he was also supposed to be the main character in that. I will be releasing on whenever that kind of comes out. I am dying to get my hands on To Your Eternity. So if you are a fan of To Your Eternity, make sure you are subscribed to the page, because I am going to be ripping that thing and exploring that one, because I cannot wait. I was so excited. As soon as I heard it was Kenjiro, though, I was like, wait, he's going to be a bad guy. He's notorious for playing bad guys because his voice is just gravelly. It's just low. It's absolutely perfect for playing bad guys. He's a bad guy, don't get me wrong. He's, again, not in that grey zone. He's probably lower down than Makoto. But he's a guy who at least fights with honor, and he does clean jobs, and he ends up kind of becoming a bit of a unspoken ally to the guys. And I was just so happy, because I'm kind of tired of seeing him play the bad guys. I kind of want to feel good about rooting for him. I feel bad rooting for a bad guy, okay? And technically, I don't feel as bad rooting for him in this, because he's technically not bad guy, with air quotes there. Shadow has come to town on a job where he's heard about our hero of justice. And he told him, and he even says, you're not much of an actor, are you? And everybody is literally ripping poor Makoto on his acting. He says he was hired by Mars at the same time as being hired by those masked jokers. So they're not the same person. Everyone seemed really hung up on the fact that the information was conflicting, but I was like, it is possible that Shadow and the masked gang can be operating at the same time. They're not the same person. They don't have to be even related. Shadow is angry because Mars has started to abuse his name, and the Jokers are also abusing his name because they're essentially getting tied in. Reputation to a self-employed is paramount. The only job that he did was the attack on Donglong. He said, I did it neatly and I did it flawlessly, unlike the job that the masked kids did, who did a very messy job and they have ruined his reputation. I am so happy because I started to realise where this was going. He says they deserve a penalty, and he ended up beating up the guys who had board members written on their badges at Mars, which is essentially why they were on edge and they had lots of bodyguards. But he says that still leaves the masked bunch, where I've heard that you are an expert at finding people. If you can track them down, I'll get rid of them. I absolutely love it. Because technically, this works in Makoto's favour. They, obviously, if he gets rid of those masked people, they're going to stop attacking the G-Boys. Maybe it means that Shadow saw Makoto get attacked by the Bunny Man. This is where we do see a darker side to Makoto, because it does mean he's still indirect at seeing people getting sorted out. Makoto agrees. And it does mean we're now working with Kenjiro, and I am so happy. It is a deal with the devil. In return, Makoto says, there's one more person I want you to give a penalty to. Makoto's not so nice side coming out. Because he's our weak point, essentially he's sending Shadow after Night. And I was just like, oh my god, I am speechless right now, but I am... The next day, when we kind of get quite a prominent scene of Makoto just brushing his teeth, but he's really staring at himself. Really kind of looking in the mirror, thinking. And people do a lot of contemplating in front of mirrors. It reflects your true self in a mirror. King has called Makoto to tell him that Shadow has jumped Hirato. That man works so fast. He is efficient. And we see him, how smooth it is. He breaks his knee and he won't be out of hospital for any time soon. King then warns Makoto, saying, sometimes you rushing ahead, consequences will be damned. So he knows it was him, but Makoto tries to reassure him. I'd spread a rumour saying that it was Mars, so your name is cleared. But I'm like, well, did it? Did it really clear him? And we see it doesn't. So Makoto, being a wee bit naive here, Hirato down the line, he's still going to want revenge. He's still going to want a war. Hirato is still not going to be their ally. He's still going to be angry. He's still going to have beef. And then we end on Makoto going, nice guy, my ass. And ooh, we're seeing some of Makoto's colours coming through. And I like the fact that it was done in front of a mirror. Crow then calls Makoto asking about Hiroto, where he says Knight's army is still launching an all-out attack because they want revenge for Hiroto. Well, duh, I'm sorry. I'm not surprised by this at all. Nobody really cares about Mars at this point. Nobody cares. They don't care about them guys. They believe it's King and they're going to go out and they want their revenge. Crow is now at this point where he cannot stop it. Whenever King answers the phone now, it's going to be a massive surprise to me. Makoto goes to the Red Angels. To be fair, like King, end of last week, I had 20% doubt against the Red Angels. So they were my highest suspected group. So it seems me and King apparently, as of last week, we were thinking the same. Where we see King going to meet the group because he has to quell the disturbance because it's on his turf and he is the head of the G-Boys. Makoto tells them that this has nothing to do with you, but help. It's also quite nice to see them kind of become these unspoken allies at the end. Initially, they're like, no, we're not shedding blood for no reason. And if they go, we're going to actually have blood flowing. But Makoto says, no, I have a plan. And I'm going to end this thing without having any bloodshed. Still being a good guy, Makoto. Even though you might not think you're a good guy, you kind of are. The two groups meet up where Makoto arrives with the Red Angels kind of in the middle. And we see Makoto actually is wearing maroon. So he technically looks like he's part of the Red Angels. And they come and say, we are siding with King. It's because they like the place. They like Ikebukuro. Ikebukuro is peaceful because King is around. And if you attack King, you're going to make an enemy of the Red Angels, where it ends up being the intimidation tactic. They just throw the bat down and that's it. War is over. That's it. Done. Sorted. Cut now back to the rental shop where we see King walking into the store with Makoto tailing him behind, where he says, I'm borrowing this store for a bit. It's all part of the movie. It seems our movie entrepreneur has decided to rewrite his movie because he was so excited seeing King appear and trying to be a bodyguard to Makoto that he wanted to rewrite his movie. Also, that tells us that King really was worried about Makoto. Maybe he heard about the attack that the Bunny Man did and he was worried. I like that. That really does kind of make me happy knowing that King kind of came rushing to his aid. Where King is apparently really natural at acting. And he even goes, "What's so difficult about this? If you're finding this hard, it's proof that you're pretending to be nice. You're just vain." Just I don't get that. That really that line bothers me. He then goes out the back to talk about the masked group, where he says Saru said that they were going to come here. Apparently Mars has cut them loose. They are dedicated on getting their revenge, and we know that they want their revenge on the G-Boys and King and Makoto. Like Clockwork, the masked group arrives, where we see them finally removing their mask, and we get Yamamoto there. Shadow also arrives. I am so happy with this. The way this ends just made me so happy. He literally addresses King, and we get the face reveal finally as well, where he's like, "I'll take 2. You can have 3. You show me what you can do." Shadow's fight style is actually a little bit similar to King. It's that calm, it's very controlled. He dodges those wild attacks. We see him attacked by 2. So he backs into 1, tosses them over his shoulders and knocks out 2 in one go. And it is calm, it's controlled, and he ends them pretty elegantly as well. Where we see him folding his arms and he's just kind of watching King to see what King will do. King has a bit more of it reminds me of the British fisticuff style where you put the hands up to your face and it's quite a boxery type move. He's a boxer. It's where he punches one out. He then kind of goes to, I feel like he punched him in the dick, but I'm not sure if he did. I think he did. And then smacks him out. Tad underhanded, but I guess it's a fight, so anything goes. Yamato versus King. Yamato decides that he's going to tip over the entire shelf trying to kind of get in the way of King, where King just jumps over and knocks him out in 1. It is that efficient, that quick, and that beautiful. Shadow, oh my god, Shadow asks King, "Where did you pick up those skills?" Where he says, "I got it from the streets." You know, King belongs to the streets, boys. He belongs to them. And he says, "You have a natural talent," because things like speed and sense for fighting is something that you get innate. It's an innate ability. You are born with it. The rental guy comes in absolutely happy that he's got a fight on his hands and he's got information on his camera, and he's like, "Yes, this is for my movie." But Shadow, just like that, like a ninja, he just swipes the SD card and he's Shadow then addressing King on the way out, saying, "If you ever want to work for the underworld, you can drop me a line." It's unspoken friendship there. The movie did well, so it ended up going towards a film festival, so that is the tie-up for that. And the happy tie-up for the entire sequence is there's now a shift in Ikebukuro's grey zones, where the Red Angels are now a more prominent presence. Also, we know they are definitely an ally we can call on if we need them. Makoto going back to selling his fruits, where he's selling a muskmelon. And yes, I have definitely heard of Japan's notoriously expensive fine fruits, which are expensive. The white strawberries or the melons, which are very expensive, or the ones that they kind of grow in shapes. I've heard about these expensive fruits. I do one day would like to try the white strawberries, but I can't afford to spend that much on one single fruit. Ending is different. We get the credits roll, but we get a rock and roll song, but we don't get the ED, we get no images or anything. It just ends. It's quite a nice wrap up to this storyline. Absolutely love it. The G-Boys Winter War has been an absolute pleasure to watch. I've really loved it. Probably this storyline that really grabbed me the most so far from Ikebukuro West Gate Park, and I absolutely adored it. I thought it was really interesting, and obviously last week I had quite a bit of fun trying to work out what was going on and what was going to happen. I was also on edge. I was really anxious about this war going on. I didn't want to really see Makoto and King involved in it, and I felt really bad kind of accusing King that it could maybe be him. So it really was a great episode. Fantastic ending as well. The wrap up absolutely ending. Absolutely stoked that I got to hear Kenjiro Tsuda. Absolutely loved it. Cannot wait as well to see where the last 5 episodes take us. We are now heading towards the end, kind of on our rundown now to see where it's going. Are our Kansai group coming back? They're definitely going to have to, because they're definitely involved underhandedly somewhere. Going to be interesting to see where that goes. Are we going to find out about Makoto's darker side? Because I think we are definitely owed an explanation, because I think there's something dark going on there. Can't wait to see if that gets addressed. I am really enjoying Ikebukuro West Gate Park, and I felt bad that I almost threatened to drop it, but at the same time, it still is one of those where I just kind of have to ignore the analytics when it comes to this series. Just in case you guys did not know, there is a Discord channel for the channel. You can, hopefully on the screen I have it, you can also go to my main page, click on the link, it will take you straight there. Join the server. You will get notifications on the day, on the moment, as soon as any video goes up. I'm also on there. You can ask me questions about absolutely anything. I hope to build from it, build it up in the future as we get bigger as a channel, where we can talk about anime, have polls going, have interesting things going on, maybe even competitions. That's a later date, so it's definitely the basis for what's coming. So please go ahead and like the page. Make sure you are subscribed, please, please, please. It would do me the world of favors. We are a small growing channel. We did recently hit 200, so I'm very happy. I would like to hit the 500 mark at some point, so that would be the next, I think that's the next goal for me. Thank you guys again for tuning in this week. I will be eventually releasing a video soon now on the winter anime, what winter anime I will be releasing on, what's got my attention, what I'm going to be watching. Really excited to release that. I will be watching Attack on Titan. I will not be releasing on it because as a small channel, I just kind of get buried. Everybody's going to be talking about it. I'm not going to release on that, so I don't have to worry about that. But that is airing in about 20 days now, so there's your little PSA there. Very excited to see that happening. So make sure you guys are subscribed to see what's going on next season. And also I should hopefully be announcing my new release schedule. Release schedule, as always, Monday to Tuesday, we have Moriarty the Patriot. If you haven't watched it yet, definitely check it out. I think it is one of the best series of this anime season, next to Jujutsu Kaisen and Golden Kamuy. Golden Kamuy takes its place on Tuesday. Absolutely loving the third series. Again, if you haven't checked out the series, definitely do. I definitely think it's slowly creeping onto my top 10 anime of all time because I am having so much fun with it and it's such a lovingly created story. Wednesday, you guys know it, we have Ikebukuro West Gate Park. I am so good at saying it. I'm so proud. Noodles takes its place on more like a Thursday morning, and Journey of Elena takes its place Friday, Saturday. Very excited with my release schedule, and it's sad to start to seeing the wind up starting to begin. So I cannot wait for next season. I hope you guys are staying safe. Have a good one. Bye bye, guys.